Right. Welcome to Lulu's Lessons with Connor Day, our very first episode. So I got all geared up by Nick over in our Woodcreek Pro Shop over there. But now I'm ready for our lesson, Connor. So where do you want to get started?
Yeah, so with every single one of my students, I think it's super crucial to go over some of the basics. If we can't set up properly, it's tough to make the proper movements in a golf swing. So I really harp on our setup to start. So
Okay.
why don't you go ahead and grab something like your pitching wedge. Step in here, aim nice and straight to the crosshairs. Obviously, aim is extremely important. Okay, good. So what we can see is pretty good posture out of Ashley to start. One of the things I like to talk about is the grip. All right, so to make the grip nice and simple, okay, go ahead and grab your club with your right hand right in the middle of the shaft. Good. Now just shake your hand with the club. Good, right? Because you wouldn't go in and shake your hand like this with someone, right? Shake my hand. You wouldn't shake someone's hand like this. You shake it just like this. That's what your body wants to do naturally, okay? So we got our left hand grip. You can see the thumb is running right down the shaft. Good. So now the right hand just comes in and you shake it as well. Basically thumbs right down the shaft as well and get a little bit of an interlock going. And that's the grip. Nice and simple, okay? You can see there's no gaps in between my hands. Okay, so nice and solid grip. You can see my thumb is right under my right hand. Okay, so this is nice and stable.
Okay.
Good, you got it nice and good. All right, so from there, the most important thing is that we get our arm structure underneath our sternum to start, okay? Our sternum being our chest and core kind of combined, right? So I like to just have people set up with nice and soft elbows right across their body. Good, put the club out in front of them. Good. And from right there, all you got to do is bend at the hips just a little bit to where those arms are directly under your sternum, okay? That's our perfect setup. Good. Ashley's setting up great with her feet. I love about 30 degrees of turn out with the toes. That kind of looks like this. Okay, a lot of times I see people get in here very straight-footed. That really restricts our range of motion in our hips. So if we can get those turned out about 30 degrees, that's perfect in my mind. Good. Now the last thing is you can see a little bit of squat in your knees. That's good. I want you to be in an athletic position, but I actually like to have my students stand a little bit taller in the legs. This is just for opposite reaction, right? We want to be able to sit down and turn into the swing. If we set ourselves up already with our butt pushed out, our opposite motion is to lose that ground force, okay? So I'm just going to have Ashley stand there with very little knee flexion, more bend at the hips. Good. That's perfect in my mind. Okay, so that's our setup one-on-one. The next thing is we're going to talk about how she's holding her wrist. So you can see there's pretty flat wrist right there. I like to see a little bit of angle, so Ashley's just going to push her arms down a little bit, okay? And that's perfect. That's our arm structure. The backswing is the next part of the swing that I talk about. Okay, and it's pretty simple what I like. I like very little movement off these first 2 feet of the ball, okay? You can see right there, I just grabbed the club, and Ashley didn't move her wrists at all, okay? That's nice and quiet. That sets us up for a really good backswing, okay? So let's do that again. Good, just 2 feet off the ball. You can see her hands stayed in and the club stayed out. That's something I look for. A lot of times we like to start our swing by popping it out this way. You can see a lot of her left arm. This is what sets us up to hit a lot of chunks, okay? Sets us up to kind of bump our hips in transition. We want to keep everything in front of us. Okay, show me about 5 takeaways that are perfect. Good, just like that. This first move off the ball is so important because it sets up a lot of good habits in the swing. Very good. Our next part in the swing is we're going to actually try to match her lead arm. This is her lead arm. This is her trail arm. We're going to try to match her lead arm at 45 degrees, okay? And I'm going to lay this club down at 45 degrees. Okay? From here, all she's trying to do is match that lead arm to that pole, okay? She can do whatever she wants with her wrists at the end, but that's exactly where we want her arm depth to be. Arm depth is really important. You can see that instantly pulled her hips open. Right, so I talked about people, once again, who like to start the swing like this, and then swing. That doesn't give her much hip rotation on the way back, so she doesn't have a lot of torque in there to unwind, okay? So once again, it's here, and she's going to follow with that arm depth up to 45 degrees. Good. Something.
My wrist be straight when it reaches the end here?
Yeah, so really the most important thing is just keeping the same structure you started with, okay? So you don't have to manipulate anything. And if anything, you want to keep this right elbow soft. And we'll talk a lot about that soft right elbow as we go through the swing, okay? But really it's just rotate to here and then just lift up to match that arm depth, okay? And keep this nice and wide. Just like that. Does that make sense to you? Good. So that's something that I would always tell my students to work on at home. Ashley's got that down pretty good. Once again, this is something she's going to work a lot on at home. In the mirror, she can do it without hitting balls. But we're just trying to train some good muscle memory there. So it's really, really important to get down the bottom part of the swing. That's the most important. That's where we're making contact with the ball. We've got to be really, really efficient because fractions of inches of being off causes the ball to go in all sorts of directions, right? So I'm just going to show Ashley really quick. From our good setup, okay, we rotate to our first position, right, just like I talked about. From here, I want her just to try to get her arm close to what her arm depth should be at 45 degrees, and I'll lay a pole down to show her, okay? And we're going to work on keeping this arm structure quiet as we rotate through the ball. So, it's going to look something like this. Most of the movement is done with my upper body and my hips, okay? The arm structure really stays quiet and it stays pinned on me. So once again, I'm just focusing on starting to get my left arm matched to this pole, and I'm rotating it through by keeping my arm structure quiet. Alright, so let's see if we can get Ashley doing that.
No pressure.
Once again, set up. Arms are pressed down, right? Nice and relaxed. Soft right elbow. Okay, so all you're going to start doing is lifting to match this pole, okay? Don't get this club behind you. If it gets behind you, it's hard to get down into the ball, right? See how this is all in front of you, but our arm is still matching that pole. And from there, the arm structure quiet and move it through with your body, okay? Pretty good. Keep going. So this first part is really important to where it has to stay out here. Then you match arm depth, because if we go in and low too early, the club gets behind us. So this is why as soon as you went down, the face is wide open and it's so far out to the right that you kind of hit the hosel, right? And that's when it goes out to the right.
Okay.
Okay. So set up to the ball. And one thing that's really, really important is not getting too far away from the ball. You see how as you keep stretching, how your hands aren't under your sternum anymore? Your hands have to be under your sternum. I know it feels uncomfortable, but this is how your body and your arms move in sync. Okay, because if you have them too far away, now your arms and body are not connected, so it's going to be really, really hard to make solid contact. You're starting that swing by just pulling it in, so if you will. Okay. Push against my hand as you kick back. See how that forces the club up more? Good. So you got to be able to start your swing with your hands going first, and the club stays out. Don't let that club get behind those hands. You got to stay here. Okay, so push against my hand. Good, that feels different, right? Now from there, keep going up. That's what we want. So this is starting to match, but it's in front of you. There it is.
Felt a lot better.
Yeah, and so one of the things Ashley and I just talked about was, you know, how close we stand to the ball. One of the biggest things I see with higher handicappers is they like to stand really, really far away from the ball with really, really high risks. Well, this has no support for our arms, okay? As soon as we start to rotate, this really likes to get in low and behind us. So if we can start to stand a little bit more, like I would say uncomfortably close for most higher handicappers, this will actually set up our swing a lot better. It sets our wrists up so that they can support the club as opposed to where there's no support. We're always going to have more support this way. Okay, so start standing a little bit closer to the ball. You'll start to notice that everything will stay connected a lot easier. Hip turn is what really, really drives our golf swing. If you have belt loops when you do this, this is great. The one thing that I really, really look for is about 45 degrees of hip turn on the backswing. A lot of times when I see higher handicappers start their swing, once again I see that left forearm pop out and the club get behind them. When they take it up to the top, they've only got about maybe 25, 30 degrees of hip turn. Now watch the difference, even when I resist myself. If I can get my arms to start moving in deeper to start the backswing, just like we were talking about with Ashley, the hands stay in, the club stays out. Watch how my hips react to that. Right? Instantly they start to open up a lot more. So this is why it's so important. Now, in that downswing, we got to start to try to get the tip of this alignment pull down and around. You'll start to see this one almost stay high, okay? What I see a lot out of the higher handicappers is up, and you'll actually see this bump out towards the target. My legs will shift this way. Now the only place I have room to swing it is to the right, okay? So this is when you see a lot of the shankers, a lot of the people who hit like the really, really big draws, okay? It really does come from the hips. It doesn't really matter what you do with your arms at that point. You're not going to be able to save yourself. This is also great for injury prevention. So if you can see, just like I was showing from this way, if I bump this way, and I'll show you from this angle, if I bump this way, there's going to be a big crunch on my lower back, and that's one of the biggest injuries that we see happen with golfers is that lower right back pain. For a right-handed golfer, for a lefty, it would be the left side, okay? It really just comes from the hips not moving properly. So we're going to have Ashley get to 45 degrees, go down and around as she starts her down. Get in your golf posture. Good. Now, rotate those hips to match that pole, okay? Now, I want you to get this lead side of the pole to start to move down and around you. Good, just like that. Good, that's the start of it. As she starts to move it down, she's going to want to start to straighten her left leg and push off her right leg, okay? It's going to be like kind of like her left side is like the brake pad and the right side is her gas pedal, okay? So start to move back 45 degrees, start moving down and straighten the left leg as you push off the right. Okay, so it's going to kind of look something like this. I'm rotating to 45, I'm down to start. Now I'm just going to straighten the left leg as I push off the right. Okay, 45, down. Now straighten the left as you push off the right. There it is. That's perfect. 45, down, and from there, you really got to snap the left leg and push off the right. That's where the speed is incorporated, okay? So what I hope you start realizing at this point is that a lot of that swing is done with the hips, okay? That's where a lot of that power is accumulated. Nice. That's why I keep saying stay planted on your left toe, is because you come off of it, right? And that's why it's so hard for you to get that ball clean, right? So you want to be able to just to turn 45 degrees. That's all you need, okay? But what I see in me is that I'm planted on both feet, and I can really see that my right knee is pretty torqued up. You guys can see that. As I turn 45, there's a lot of flex in that knee. This is where that power is accumulated to push off and snap really quick, okay? All I'm watching is the hips, right? I don't care about the arms yet. Just focusing on how those hips are moving. 45 degrees, turn into the right leg, and then snap it. Nice. This is what's pretty cool about doing this. Ashley and I were talking about, she started talking about her arms as we're focusing on her hips. And I told her, you know, don't worry about it quite yet. Focus on making good movements, proper movements in the hips, right? Just for that sole purpose. Ashley hit a couple, not that great, but without even thinking about her arms, just focusing on her hips, we just hit a couple that were pretty good, in my mind had a lot more speed to it than when we started. And that's really all you need, because like I said, this stuff is really, really easy to fix. As you'll see, as we get down the road in these videos, I mean, tweaking this stuff up here is so easy, but it's really easy to make bad habits in the hip. 100% of the time, I pretty much always start with the hips.
All right, thank you so much for my first lesson,
No problem,
Connor.
no problem.
I definitely have a lot to work on. So what are the couple of things summarized that I should be working on at home this next couple weeks?
Absolutely. So Ashley's going to work really on two things. It's going to be her arm structure, and it's going to be on her hips and how they're rotating. Both of these things she can work on with like an alignment stick at home. Once again, just like I said, if you're able to disassociate hitting balls and work on the actual movements, that's what's most important. So she's going to work on her two-step backswing, where it's nice and quiet on the way back. If she can get someone to help have some resistance on her hands, that'll be great. Okay, so she's going to take it to there, and just like we said, she's going to try to match a 45-degree pull with her arms, with her lead arm. Right there, you can see that pulls her hips open to 45 degrees. All she's doing is this two-step backswing to start training her body, okay? And on the other side of the spectrum for the lower body, she's really, really going to work on that hip rotation, right? We talked about 45 degrees on the backswing and moving this front pull down and straightening the left and pushing off the right. Once again, that's a hard movement to think about while you're hitting golf balls. Train it outside, okay? So she's going to do a lot of this stuff on her own at home. And hopefully, a couple weeks from now, we'll see some improvements there, right?
Can't wait. Thanks, Connor.
No problem. See you guys.